Hare Krishna, Hare Krishna, Krishna Krishna, Hare Hare, Hare Rama, Hare Rama, Rama Rama, Hare Hare, Hare Krishna, Hare Krishna, Krishna Krishna, Hare Hare, Hare Rama, Hare Rama, Rama Rama, Hare Hare, Hare Krishna, Hare Krishna, Krishna Krishna, Hare Hare, Hare Rama, Hare Rama, Rama Rama, Hare Hare, Hare Krishna, Hare Krishna, Krishna Krishna, Hare Hare, Hare Rama, Hare Rama, Rama Rama, Hare Hare, Hare Krishna, Hare Krishna, Krishna Krishna, Hare Hare, Hare Rama, Hare Rama, Rama Rama, Hare Hare, Hare Krishna, Hare Krishna, Krishna Krishna, Hare Hare, Hare Rama, Hare Rama, Rama Rama, Hare Hare, Hare Krishna, Hare Krishna, Krishna Krishna, Hare Hare, Hare Rama, Hare Rama, Rama Rama, Hare Hare, Hare Krishna, Hare Krishna, Krishna Krishna, Hare Hare, Rama, Hare Rama, Rama Rama, Hare Hare, Hare Krishna, Hare Krishna, Krishna Krishna, Hare Hare, Hare Rama, Hare Rama, Rama Rama, Hare Hare, Hare Krishna, Hare Krishna, Krishna Krishna, Hare Hare, Hare Rama, Hare Rama, Rama Rama, Hare Hare, Hare Krishna, Hare Krishna, Krishna Krishna, Hare Hare, Hare Rama, Hare Rama, Rama Rama, Hare Hare, Hare Krishna, Hare Krishna, Krishna Krishna, Hare Hare, Hare Rama, Hare Rama, Rama Rama, Hare Hare, Hare Krishna, Hare Krishna, Krishna Krishna, Hare Hare, Hare Rama, Hare Rama, Rama Rama, Hare Hare, Hare Krishna, Hare Krishna, Krishna Krishna, Hare Hare, Hare Rama, Hare Rama, Rama Rama, Hare Hare, Hare Krishna, Hare Krishna, Krishna Krishna, Hare Hare, Hare Rama, Hare Rama, Rama Rama, Hare Hare, Hare Krishna, Hare Krishna, Krishna Krishna, Hare Hare, Hare Rama, Hare Rama, Rama Rama, Hare Hare, Hare Krishna, Hare Krishna, Krishna Krishna, Hare Hare, Hare Rama, Hare Rama, Rama Rama, Hare Hare, Hare Krishna, Hare Krishna, Krishna Krishna, Hare Hare, Hare Rama, Hare Rama, Rama Rama, Hare Hare, Hare Krishna, Hare Krishna, Krishna Krishna, Hare Hare, Hare Rama, Hare Rama, Rama Rama, Hare Hare, Hare Krishna, Hare Krishna, Krishna Krishna, Hare Hare, Hare Rama, Hare Rama, Rama Rama, Hare Hare, Hare Krishna, Hare Krishna, Krishna Krishna, Hare Hare, Hare Rama, Hare Rama, Rama Rama, Hare Hare, Hare Krishna, Hare Krishna, Krishna Krishna, Hare Hare, Hare Rama, Hare Rama, Rama Rama, Hare Hare, Hare Krishna, Hare Krishna Krishna Hare 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 Rama 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 Hare 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 Krishna 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 Hare 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 Rama Rama Hare 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 Krishna 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 Hare 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 Rama Rama Hare 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 Krishna 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 Hare 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 Rama Rama Hare Hare Jayo Radhe Jayo Radhe Jayo Radhe Jayo Shri Radhe Jayo Radhe Jayo Radhe Jayo Radhe Jayo Shri Radhe Jaya Gaura Nitai 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 Jaya Prabhupada 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 Jaya Prabhupada.
Haribol, that was so mystical, mesmerizing, and wonderful. Thank you so much, Vishal Prabhu. You took us to a whole different world, actually. Thank you so much. Thank you.
Thank you so much, Prabhu.
So now we let Nupur Mataji take over. Hare Krishna. And while Nupur is setting up, I'd like to welcome Nandini Mataji for the first time to our group. Welcome, Nandini Mataji. So nice to have you here.
Hare Krishna, dear devotees. Proji, can you see my screen?
No, not yet. Oh, yeah. We can. Sorry, because now I think they have in this new version of Zoom, they have another tab where you have to click. Okay. Yes, ma.
I should start with the prayers. Om Gyantimirandasya Gyananjanashalakaya Chakshurunmilitam Yena Tasmai Shri Guruve Namah Shri Chaitanya Manopishtam Stapitam Yena Bhutale Swayam Rupa Kadamayam Dadati Swapadantikam Vandeham Shri Guru Shri Yuta Padkamalam Shri Gurun Vaishnavamscha Shri Rupam Sagrajatam Sahagana Raghunathanvitam Tam Sajivam Sadvaitam Savadutam Parijana Sahitam Krishna Chaitanya Devam Shri Radha Krishna Padam Sahagana Lalita Shri Vishakhanvitamscha He Krishna Karuna Sindhu Dinabandhu Jagatpate Gopesha Gopika Kanta Radha Kanta Namostute तप्तकाञ्चना गौराङ्गी राधे वृन्दावनेश्वरी वृषभानुसुते देवी प्रणमामि हरिप्रिये वाञ्छाकल्पतरुभ्यश्च कृपासिन्धुभ्य एव च पतितानां पावनेभ्यो वैष्णवेभ्यो नमो नमः। नमो विष्णुपादाय कृष्णपृष्ठाय भूतले श्रीमते भक्ति वेदान्ता स्वामिनिति नामिने नमस्ते सरस्वते देवे गौरवाणी प्रचारिणे निर्विशेष शून्यवादी पाश्चात्यदेशतारिणे जय श्री कृष्ण चैतन्य प्रभु नित्यानंद श्री अद्वैत गदाधरा श्रीवासादि गौर भक्तवृंद हरे कृष्णा कृष्ण कृष्ण हरे 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 राम 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 हरे हरे मूकं करोति वाचालं पङ्गुं लगायतिं गिरिं यत्कृपातमहं वन्दे श्रीगुरुं दीनतारणम् Hare Krishna. Thank you everyone for joining. I welcome you all for discussing this pastime about Ambarish Maharaj. And I seek your blessings and seek your forgiveness before I start. If I commit any offense or mistake while discussing this pastime. Hare Krishna. We shall begin with reading maybe 10 verses each. We are going to discuss around 48 verses today. So anyone who wants to read can raise their hand. We can go by 10 verses each. Yes, Ritesh Prabhu. Thank you.
Hare Krishna, everyone. Text 13. From Nabhag, Maharaj Ambrish took birth. Maharaj Ambrish was an exalted devotee celebrated for his great merits. Although he was cursed by an infallible Brahmana, the curse could not touch him. King Parikshit inquired, O great personality, Maharaj Ambrish was certainly most exalted and meritorious in character. I wish to hear about him. How surprising it is that the curse of a Brahmana, which is insurmountable, could not act upon him. Sukadev Goswami said, Maharaj Ambrish, the most fortunate personality, achieved the rule of the entire world consisting of 7 islands and achieved inexhaustible, unlimited opulence and prosperity on earth. Although such a position is rarely obtained, Maharaj Ambrish did not care for it at all. For he knew very well that all such opulence is material, like that which is imagined in a dream. Such opulence will ultimately be destroyed. The king knew that any non-devotee who attains such opulence merges increasingly into material nature's mode of darkness. Maharaj Ambrish was a great devotee of the Supreme Personality of Godhead, Vasudev, and of the saintly persons who are the Lord's devotees. Because of this devotion, he thought of the entire universe as being as significant as a piece of stone. Maharaj Ambrish always engaged his mind in meditating upon the lotus feet of Krishna, his words in describing the glories of the Lord, his hands in cleansing the Lord's temple, and his ears in hearing the words spoken by Krishna or about Krishna. He engaged his eyes in seeing the deity of Krishna, Krishna's temples, and Krishna's places like Mathura and Vrindavan. He engaged his sense of touch in touching the bodies of the Lord's devotees. He engaged his sense of smell in smelling the fragrance of tulsi offered to the Lord, and he engaged his tongue in tasting the Lord's prasad. He engaged his legs in walking to the holy places and temples of the Lord, his head in bowing down before the Lord, and all his desires in serving the Lord. 24 hours a day. Indeed, Maharaj Ambrish never desired anything for his own sense gratification. He engaged all his senses in devotional service, in various engagements related to the Lord. This is the way to increase attachment for the Lord and be completely free from all material desires. In performing his prescribed duties as king, Maharaj Ambrish always offered the results of his royal activities to the Supreme Personality of Godhead, Krishna, who is the enjoyer of everything and is beyond the perception of material senses. He certainly took advice from Brahmanas who were faithful devotees of the Lord, and thus he ruled the planet earth without difficulty. In desert countries where there flowered the river Saraswati, where there flowed the river Saraswati, Maharaj Ambrish performed great sacrifices like the Aswamedha Yagya and thus satisfied the master of all yagyas, the Supreme Personality of Godhead. Such sacrifices were performed with great opulence and suitable paraphernalia and with contributions of dakshina to the Brahmanas, who were supervised by great personalities like Vasishtha, Asita, and Gautama, representing the king, the performer of the sacrifices. In the sacrifice arranged by Maharaj Ambrish, the members of the assembly and the priests, especially Hota, Udgata, Brahma, and Advaryu, were gorgeously dressed, and they all looked exactly like demigods. They eagerly saw the proper performance of the yajna.
Hare Krishna.
Thank you, Prabhu. Gautam Prabhu.
The citizens of the state of Maharaj Ambarish were accustomed to chanting and hearing about the glorious activities of the personality of Godhead. Thus, they never aspired to be elevated to the heavenly planets, which are extremely dear even to the demigods. Those who are saturated with transcendental happiness of rendering service to the Supreme Personality of Godhead are uninterested even in the achievements of great mystics. For such achievements do not enhance the transcendental bliss felt by a devotee who always thinks of Krishna within the core of his heart. The king of this planet, Maharaj Ambarish, thus performed devotional service to the Lord and in this endeavor practiced severe austerity, always satisfying the Supreme Personality of Godhead by his constitutional activities. He gradually gave up all material desires. Maharaj Ambarish gave up all attachment to household affairs, wives, children, friends, and relatives to the best of powerful elephants, to beautiful chariots, carts, horses, and inexhaustible jewels, and to ornaments, garments, and an inexhaustible treasury. He gave up attachment to all of them, regarding them as temporary and material. Being very pleased by the unalloyed devotion of Maharaj Ambarish, the Supreme Personality of Godhead gave the king his disc, which is fearful to enemies and which always protects the devotee from enemies and adversities. To worship Lord Krishna, Maharaj Ambarish, along with his queen, who is equally qualified, observed the vow of Ekadashi and Dwadashi for 1 year. In the month of Kartik, after observing that vow for 1 year, after observing a fast for 3 nights, and after bathing in the Yamuna, Maharaj Ambarish worshipped the Supreme Personality of Godhead Hari in Madhuvan. Following the regulative principles of Maha Abhisheka, Maharaj Ambarish performed the bathing ceremony for the deity of Lord Krishna with all paraphernalia, and then he dressed the deity with fine clothing, ornaments, fragrant flower garlands, and other paraphernalia for worship of the Lord. With great attention and devotion, he worshipped Krishna and all the greatly fortunate Brahmanas who were free from material desires. Manishika Mataji wanted to go next.
Thank you, Prabhuji. Manu Mataji.
From 33, right? Okay. Thereafter, Maharaj Ambarish satisfied all the guests who arrived at his house, especially the Brahmanas. He gave in charity 60 crores of cows whose horns were covered with gold plate and whose hooves were covered with silver plate. All the cows were well decorated with garments and had full milk bags. They were mild natured, young and beautiful, and were accompanied by their calves. After giving these cows, the king first sumptuously fed all the Brahmanas, and when they were fully satisfied, He was about to observe the end of Ekadashi with their permission by breaking the fast. Exactly at that time, however, Durvasa Muni, the great and powerful mystic, appeared on the scene as an uninvited guest. After standing up to receive Durvasa Muni, King Ambarish offered him a seat and paraphernalia of worship. Then, sitting at his feet, the king requested the great sage to eat. Durvasa Muni gladly accepted the request of Maharaj Ambarish, but to perform the regulative ritualistic ceremonies, he went to the river Yamuna. There, he dipped into the water of the auspicious Yamuna and meditated upon the impersonal Brahman. In the meantime, only a Muhurat of Dwadashi day was left on which to break the fast. Consequently, it was imperative that the fast be broken immediately. In this dangerous situation, the king consulted learned Brahmanas. The king said, to transgress the laws of respectful behavior toward the Brahmanas is certainly a great offense. On the other hand, if one does not observe the breaking of the fast within the time of Dwadashi, there is a flaw in one's observance of the vow. Therefore, O Brahmanas, if you think that it will be auspicious and not irreligious, I shall break the fast by drinking water. In this way, after consulting with the Brahmanas, the king reached this decision, for according to Brahmanical opinion, drinking water may be accepted as eating and also as not eating. O best of the Kuru dynasty, after he drank some water, King Ambarish, meditating upon the Supreme Personality of Godhead within his heart, waited for the return of the great mystic Durvasa Muni. After executing the ritualistic ceremonies to be performed at noon, Durvasa returned from the bank of Yamuna. The king received him well, offered all respects, but Durvasa Muni, by his mystic powers, could understand that Ambarish Maharaj has drunk water without his permission. Still hungry, Durvasa Muni, his body trembling, his face curved and his eyebrows crooked in a frown, angrily spoke as follows to King Ambarish, who stood before him with folded hands.
Thank
Alas.
you, Mataji.
Okay.
Thank you. Kameshwar Prabhu, if you're still available.
Yes, Mataji.
Thank you, Prabhu.
44 onwards.
Yes, Prabhuji, from 44th to 51st.
Alas, just see the behavior of this real man. He is not a devotee of Lord Vishnu. Being proud of his material opulence and his position, he considers himself God. Just see how he has transgressed the laws of religion. Maharaj Ambarisha, you have invited me to eat as a guest, but instead of feeding me, you yourself have eaten first. Because of your misbehavior, I shall show you something you punish you. I shall show you something to punish you. As Durvasa Muni said this, his face became red and anger. Uprooting a bunch of hair from his head, he created a demon resembling the blazing fire of devastation to punish Maharaj Ambarisha. Taking a trident in his hand and making the surface of the earth tremble with his footsteps, the the blazing creature came before Maharaj Ambarisha. But the king, upon seeing him, was not at all disturbed and did not move even slightly from his position. As a fire in the forest immediately burns to ashes an angry snake, so by the previous order of the Supreme Personality of Godhead, his disc, the Sudarsana Chakra, immediately burned to ashes the created demon to protect the Lord's devotee. Upon seeing that his own attempt had failed and that the Sudarsana Chakra was moving towards him, Durvasa Muni became very frightened and began to run in all directions to save his life. As the blazing flames of a forest fire pursued a snake, the disc of the Supreme Personality of Godhead began following Durvasa Muni. Durvasa Muni saw that the disc was almost touching. He ran very swiftly, desiring to enter a cave of Sumeru mountain. Just to protect himself, Durvasa Muni fled everywhere in all directions. In the sky, on the surface of the earth, in caves, in the ocean, on different planets of the rulers of the three worlds, and even on the heavenly planets. But wherever he went, he immediately saw following him the unbearable fire of the Sudarsana Chakra.
Thank you, Prabhuji. Thank you, Nitya Madhuri, for raising the hand. We shall be covering till text 51. For today, we'll be continuing from text 52 from next class. Thank you all readers for reading so patiently and so nicely and so slowly. So we shall start diving deep into this pastime. Okay. So the Canto 9, the theme is liberation and beautiful pastimes of the Supreme Lord and his dear devotees. This canto also emphasizes on the dangers of Vaishnava Aparadh and dangers of lust. Canto 9, I'm just briefly discussing this. So Canto 9 is divided into two dynasties, Sun Dynasty and Moon Dynasty. The first half of the canto discusses about the Sun Dynasty, which includes Vaivasva, Muni, Sudyumna, Nabhaga, Ambrisha Maharaj, and Lord Ramachandra, while Moon Dynasty have Pururava, Yayati, Rantidev, Parshuram, and many other great souls. So today we are going to discuss about Ambarish Maharaj. So Ambarish Maharaj, so it starts with the son of sun god Vaivasva Manu, whose one of the son was Nabhaga, whose son was Nabhaga, and Ambarish Maharaj was son of Nabhaga. So we'll be you all just read all these verses. So the text 13 to 28 discusses about activities of Ambarish Maharaj. Then we'll be talking about Ambarish Maharaj's first 1 year of Ekadashi Vrata and how Durvasa Muni felt offended, and some parts of how Durvasa Muni responded to being offended by Ambarish Maharaj. So why this pastime is important? So Srila Prabhupada, in his purport of one of the verses of this text, he says that if one wants to understand the Supreme Personality of Godhead in completeness, one must follow the prescriptions given by Krishna by following in the footsteps of Maharaj Ambarish. So let's start. So Ambarish Maharaj, so Shukadev Goswami says, Ambarisha Mahabhaga Sapta Dvipavatem Mahim. So he's a greatly celebrated Raja Rishi, saintly monarch. He is married, he had children, he was a king of all 7 islands of the world. He possessed many elephants, chariots, horses, jewels, ornaments, garments, and an inexhaustible treasury. He had everything that one could desire. So I have some quick yes/no questions for you. Anybody can just unmute themselves and answer those based on what we read. They are very simple questions. So was Ambarish Maharaj attached to all these opulences that I just mentioned? Anybody?
No.
Okay. So if no, did he abandon all these opulences?
Also no.
If no again, how did he manage to have all these opulence and still remember the Lord? Anyone? Okay. So he did that by he accepted everything for serving Lord Krishna in devotion. So even though he had so much, why Ambarish Maharaj was never entangled? So this is so Radhanath Maharaj, he gives some reasons for this. Said he never considered anything to be his own. He considered everything to be Sarvaloka Maheshwaram, of the Supreme Personality of Godhead, and therefore he used every single thing in the service of Krishna. And then he didn't see the subjects, his praja in the kingdom, to be his subjects. He considered them as Krishna's children. Aham bija pradapita. He considered himself to be the caretaker of Krishna's property and Krishna's children. Therefore, he served everyone with deep honor, compassion, and humility. Be it plants, animals, humans, every single organism on earth. So while you all were reading, there was a verse which told us the way how to increase the attachment for the Lord and be completely free from all desires. So this was the verse 18 to 20. So if anyone wants to answer that, is there any day when you do not use any of these senses mentioned here? Eyes, ears, tongue, smell, touch, the Gyanendriyanis and the Karmendriyanis, including hands, legs, words, the speech, or head. So by Krishna's mercy, we use them every day. And so let's talk about how Ambarish Maharaj used all these senses in serving the Lord. So he used his eyes in seeing the deity of Krishna, his temples, his places like Mathura and Vrindavan. He used his ears to hear the words spoken by Krishna or about Krishna. He used his tongue in tasting Lord's prasad. He used his sense of smell in smelling the fragrance of tulsi offered to the Lord. He used his sense of touch for touching the bodies of the Lord's devotees in order to serve them. He used his hands in cleansing the Lord's temple. He used his legs to walk to the holy places and temples of the Lord. He used his words in describing the Lord, and he used his head in bowing down to the Lord. Okay, so these were, one can engage in Krishna's service by beginning with the senses. Sometimes our mind is not focused enough. So we can actually begin with the senses. Like this is the perfect example given by Ambarish Maharaj. But how can one train themselves to engage his various senses in service of the Lord? Now, I can say that I learned all these things, I can start tomorrow. Or any person who is not actually aware of these pastimes or anything related to bhakti, you can say that, okay, I read this verse, I can start with these things. I can go to temple, I can look at the deities, and I can do all of these things. However, Srila Prabhupada, in the purport of these verses, he says that, giving the reference of Bhagavad Gita 7.1, that it is not possible to train oneself without the guidance of spiritual master. So one actually needs to, and he must execute the devotional service under the guidance of a devotee or directly under the guidance of Supreme Personality of Godhead. So, and he also talks about the senses in this purport. Harshikena Harshikesha Sevanam Bhakti Ruchyate. So bhakti means to engage the senses in the service of the master of the senses, that is Krishna, who is also called Harshikesha or Achyuta. So these two words are also used in the in this verse. Okay, so now little activity. So if you feel like sharing, can you share how you remembered Krishna before or during or after any activity today or any day, yesterday, day before yesterday, anything? You can type in chat box or just unmute yourself and say something like any activity you remembered Krishna today. Before having dinner. Like I can say I remembered Krishna while preparing these slides.
While vacuuming and mopping the house, I remember Krishna. I listen to bhajans.
Very nice. While listening to lectures, amazing. Thank you all for responding. So next question is memory based. So answer, what can you do to remember the Lord before doing any activity? Like any single activity you are doing the day. So I provided the hint that Gaurakumar Prabhu has mentioned this a couple of times. So please don't blame me for the question. So the hint is right in front of you. So what can you do to remember the Lord before doing any activity? Blame is the hint. Okay. So the answer is Arop Siddha Bhakti, blaming Krishna before doing anything. Like, Krishna, I'm doing this for you. And like anything, while even Prabhuji gave example of brushing your teeth. So before brushing, telling Krishna, I'm doing this for you. So Amrish Maharaj's mind was immersed in remembering Krishna all the time. Like Maharaj says, Radhanath Maharaj mentions that this is the perfection of meditation. So highest meditation is samsiddhir haritoshanam, to please Krishna. So we can meditate. Now I am remembering you like before any activity. So how does this help? So this is like I'm going to use my mind and intelligence, all of my physical abilities that I have to serve you and please you, Krishna. So this is how we can use our senses, all of our senses, even our mind, intelligence, everything to serve Krishna, just like Amrish Maharaj did. So Arop Siddha Bhakti is one way to do that. So next, Prabhupada talks about, he gives like a pure devotee who's never, like, these verses talks about a pure devotee who's never interested in elevation or perfections of mystic yoga. Why? Because devotees are so happy in serving Krishna in all of their activities. They are fearless. They have nothing to fear. Wherever they are, a devotee is always situated in the spiritual world. So wherever they are, that becomes their spiritual world. Why? Because everything they're doing in the service of Krishna. So heavenly planets, liberation, hellish planets, they are all same to the devotee. And since Amrish Maharaj was such an advanced devotee, all of the citizens in his state, they were not interested in anything material. They were just following their king, and even the happiness of the heavenly planets, which even demigods want to attain. So, sorry. And the second one is they do not even desire the perfection of mystic yoga. So here Srila Prabhupada also gives the difference between a material person and a devotee. So, or a mystic person to be precise. So he says a mystic person might want to control his senses, but a devotee doesn't need to control his senses because all of his senses are engaged in the service of Krishna. Param drishtva nivartate. A devotee's senses are not attracted by material enjoyment. And even though material world is full of misery, the devotee considers this material world to be also spiritual. Why? Because everything he is doing is engaged in the service of Lord Krishna. So this is very beautiful line. So he says that the difference between the spiritual and the material world is the mentality of service. If you are doing it just to do it, that's material. That could be material. And if you are doing it remembering Krishna in the service of Krishna, that becomes spiritual. He further gives this difference between material and spiritual services in the same purport. He says that which is engaged in the service of the Lord is not material, and nothing thus engaged should be given up. So he gives the example like if you're constructing a skyscraper or if you're constructing a temple, the enthusiasm may be the same, but the endeavors are different. One is material, and one is spiritual. So spiritual activities, they should not be confused with the material activities and given up. So these were some of the highlights. So recapping what we read about the pastime. So Ambarish Maharaj, so the later part of the pastime says, Ambarish Maharaj and his queen once observed the vow of Ekadashi and Dwadashi at Mathura, and for 1 year they worshipped Lord Krishna. In the Kartik month, him and his wife, they both fasted for 3 nights, bathed in Yamuna river. And finally, in the Madhuvan, he worshipped Lord Krishna by doing Mahabhishek, offered him clothing, ornaments, and garments. Then finally, he worshipped several Brahmanas by donating them 60 crores of cows with gold plated horns and silver plated hooves and feeding them with sumptuous prasad with his own hands. With their permission, he was about to break the fast, but Durvasa Muni entered the chat. So Durvasa Muni came in. So Durvasa Muni was one of the greatest mystic yogi. He arrived without any announcement. So Ambarish Maharaj welcomed him very respectfully and requested him to eat. So Durvasa Muni was very satisfied with all this respect he received. But he had to do his ritualistic activities. So he went to river Yamuna and he sat in his meditation. So while he was in his meditation, he lost the track of time. But on the other hand, Ambarish Maharaj, there was hardly any muhurat left for breaking his fast. So we know that there is paran time, there is a specific paran time even for like the next day of Ekadashi when we open our fast. And this pastime was happening in a different yoga where the technical issues like these kind of things, they resulted in major consequences. So if he didn't break his fast, it would nullify a whole year of tapasya and all the benefits for himself and his citizens and the entire world. So Ambarish Maharaj was doing everything for others, like for his citizens, for his praja, for his subjects. So, but again, if he would have broken the fast, that would be violating the etiquette of eating before the guest. So he prayed to the Lord in his heart and he got an inspiration. But still, he didn't act independently upon that and approached very learned, pure hearted Brahmanas who agreed that, yeah, he can have some water. However, in the purport of this verse, where he talks about when he reached out to the Brahmana, Srila Prabhupada says when Maharaj Ambarish was in his dilemma, when he consulted the Brahmanas, even they weren't sure that if he could, like, they didn't give any definite answer to them. But Srila Prabhupada says a Vaishnav is the most intelligent personality. Therefore, Maharaj Ambarish himself decided in their presence he would drink a little water. So he drank a little tiny bit of water. And this brings us to another theme, which is the nature of the world, contradictory situations. We are already in some kind of situations where we have to be, for example, we have to be at two places. So, two important events at the same time. And when we have to choose one over the other, which might lead to offending one side or the other. So, this is our limitation in this world. So, my question to you is, what do you do when you are in such contradictory situations? How do you choose one? I mean, these situations are all like all of the time they are there. They come, they are reoccurring. So even during my, for example, during my applications, I had this dilemma which university to choose after being accepted. So how do you act upon such situations? How do you decide that this is the one I'll be choosing? Anyone? Okay. Okay. So in order to deal with such situations, we need good intelligence. For
There are some
example,
answers, Nupur, on the chat.
oh, sorry. One that takes you closer to Krishna, right? Yes, true. Oh, sorry, Mataji, I missed your Aropsitu Bhakti. That was the answer. The first decision point is always ourselves. Could you elaborate on that, Prabhuji? Like, how?
So I can speak for myself. I always think of, if I were to make this decision, will it be satisfying for me? Will it be pleasing to me? Will I be happy? And things like that. So I'm still not on that level where I can completely say that my first decision point is Krishna, and I always think of Krishna and his devotees' welfare. I'm just honestly sharing what I'm feeling.
I have a follow-up question on that, Prabhu. So when you're thinking about, like you said, that you'll be thinking about yourself first and if it is making you happy or not, how do you know that it aligns or it doesn't align with Krishna's plan? For example, you say that you do not think of Krishna while choosing those contradictions. So this is a genuine question I have. So
Yeah.
how do you decide, like?
So I don't think of Krishna. I just think of, very selfishly think of what will please me, because I feel that I'm the controller and the situation, this problem is there, this contradiction is there. So the choice that I make should actually please me. Ritesh Prabhu has something. Actually, Vallabh Chaitanya Prabhu also. You need to chant nice. He's telling me. Yeah, yes, Prabhu. That's true. So Ritesh Prabhu is saying, consider various factors which may be favorable or unfavorable, and then take the decision. Can you elaborate on that, Ritesh Prabhu?
Yeah, please.
I mean, favorable to the goal, and like if it is getting me closer to the goal, then it's favorable. If it is not, then it's unfavorable. So consider there are various factors. It's not like everything falls under a part of it is like A and B. A doesn't fall, like everything doesn't fall under favorable in A. There are certain which are favorable, there are certain which are unfavorable. So you also have to prioritize which favorable factor you want more, and then based on that you take the decision. Does that make sense?
It does, Prabhu, but I have a question for you.
Yes.
So for example, I have two universities, A and B. So A keeps me closer to Krishna. Like for example, A is in New York City. And B keeps me closer to my goal. For example, I want to do material goal or I want to do PhD. Maybe if I become advanced and do that in service of Krishna. What would you choose? Like both are favorable and unfavorable at the same time, like in different aspects. So what would you choose? Like how do you decide which one is more favorable over the other?
Yeah, so I think so for me personally, it's more like the goal is mostly like your primary, like my primary goal is like how can I actually get one step closer in my spiritual advancement without affecting too much in my material things. Like if it is like, okay, it's gonna just burn me by my material things around me, anything that I have, then I mean, then I would find how B can help me in spiritual advancement as well, if that makes sense.
Yeah, it does
How
make
to
sense.
make how to make B around B. How can I make spiritual advancement? Like if A is in that position, yeah. But I think in general, mostly you would always have that material thing, and always you can leave some aspect to Krishna. I think, or being, I think sometimes like that. Yeah.
Yeah, great
Thank you,
answer,
Prabhu.
Prabhu. So what I got from your answer is prioritizing. So you need to prioritize one thing over the other. So for example, if you want to prioritize spiritual aspect, but at the same time, you, as you mentioned, that you cannot let your material thing go away, or you cannot just ignore that. As Gautama Prabhu also says that you need to have peace or at least some satisfaction in your material life to live your spiritual lives peacefully or to grow in your spiritual life. So yeah, that does make sense. Wonderfully answered, Prabhu.
Thank you. Vallabh Chaitanya Prabhu has his hands up.
Yes, VCP.
Yeah, this is a nice discussion, and I just got some questions that so priorities change. Let's say if we are in a university, it's easy to pick which university to go. It is pretty quick. Then let's say we are going to get married, it gets little difficult, and then the next question would come where we want to stay, for example in US, India, and based on, let's say we have children, where do we want them to send them, in what school. So priorities always change. And today I may think, okay, I want to go closer to Krishna, or I want to make this decision. Let's say this university is in New York, or is in Mumbai, Delhi, near to temple. But next year I get married and my priorities will change. And next year, if I have a kid, or if he or she, the kid, is supposed to go to school, then the priorities will change. So I feel the foundation, as Gaur Kumar Prabhu said, I completely relate to it. In reality, if I just take zoom out and see what everyone, most of us are doing, is we are keeping materially what is the best, not spiritually. And I'm not sure if there is anything wrong in that. So I don't know what clarity should we have for ourselves to be at least transparent or be clear in what we need in life, versus just keep on living in a guilt or indecisiveness.
So I can, because Nupur told me to address this, so I'm just going to try. So there are two things that I always try to think of before I make a decision. One is you must be hungry for Krishna. In this particular chapter also, there is one verse which says the word hunger is used actually in the case of Durvas Muni. So we must be hungry, but we must be hungry not for material success or anything like that, but we must be hungry for Krishna. That is first thing. And that hunger should always remain. So still hungry, you see this particular verse 43, still hungry, Durvas Muni. So we must be hungry, but in this case, Durvas Muni was hungry for his own ego, actually. He was not hungry for Krishna, he was hungry for his own ego. So the first point is we must be hungry for Krishna, and we must keep questioning on a day-to-day basis. Are we hungry for Krishna? Are we hungry for Krishna? So that is one thing. And the second thing is we must be humble. So if we are humble and if we are hungry, humble means it's not that I want to be the controller or I want everything to happen my way. You just have to be humble in the sense of accepting whatever Krishna throws our way. So if you are hungry for Krishna and if you are humble, and humble towards the instructions of, in this particular story, the instructions of the Brahmanas or the Guru or some senior devotees, then you will be taking the right decision. Even though at that time you may not know, but eventually you'll know that you will be taking the right decision. So basically, hungry for Krishna and genuine humility. And these two things, externally, someone else cannot assess. It's something that you can assess. So yes, the priorities will change, everything will change, but these two things can be constant in your life. You have to be hungry for Krishna and humble. So I'll just end there. Of course, it's a case-by-case basis. Beyond that, there's no general formula. It's a very case-by-case basis. For someone, it may be good for them to send their children to a normal school. For someone, it may be better to homeschool. And for someone, it may be better to go to India. For someone, it may be better to stay here. So there's no general answer. If you have these two things, you'll be fine wherever you are.
Wonderful answer. VCP, any follow-up question?
I have a follow-up question actually. Proji, how do we like use these 2 points if we in this practical world? Like if I have to take a decision, like I'm staying in US right now and I'm confused whether I should stay in US or in India. So how should I think about it? Like here I can't be humble, or I don't have hunger for Krishna, like in this situation. So what do we do? Am I able to explain it nicely, the question?
Yeah, I mean, it's a very case by case basis. So we'll have to have like a really long conversation,
Hmm.
see which one will take you closer to Krishna, which step, not from your perspective, but from a higher perspective. So just today I was listening to a class where the first level of viewing things is it's called Simha, the way a lion sees. You know, lion can see only in the front and only in the back. That is a very limited view. Then the next level of seeing is like how a pigeon sees. A pigeon sees like throughout 360 degrees, left, right, everywhere. And the highest level is to see from the top like a bird. So typically when we are making a decision, we'll never be able to see from the top. So we'll have to submissively surrender to someone who knows you and who can see from the top and who cares for you and can make and help you make that decision. Not make the decision, but help you make that decision. So it comes down to approaching someone who can see from the top. And that person, he or she, will be able to help you. And that is where the humility comes. That is where the humility comes. And that is where the hunger also comes. You go and tell this devotee that I'm really hungry for Krishna and I want to be humble and be humble towards your instructions. Does that help, Manishika? I don't know.
Yes, Prabhuji. The way you said it, it was like the 2 points that you shared were like we can use it in a very sorry we can I'm not able to formulate my sentence well, but it's a very subtle thing, I feel.
Yes, it is a very subtle thing. It's not a, yeah, it's a very, very subtle thing.
Right.
Hmm.
Thank you, Prabhuji.
Thank you.
Anyone else who has any questions or anything to add to this conversation or discussion? Okay. Kameshwar Prabhu?
Yeah, Hare Krishna. Mataji, actually, I have one question here. Just let us, if you compare Parikshit Maharaj's case and Ambarish Maharaj's case. In case of Ambarish Maharaj, Krishna sent a Sudarshan Chakra. In the same situation, why he did not save Parikshit Maharaj? Is it the intention is like, is it Krishna's plan, or how he, these two analogies, if you carefully observe, what is the difference? How can we account it for? Is it because of the act? Because of the act in case of Ambarish Maharaj is some completely sattvic, and is it because Parikshit Maharaj with passion, he did this mistake? So is it because of that quality of the mistake happened, or is Krishna's plan?
As little as I know, Prabhuji, I don't know if I'm qualified to answer that.
You know, I just,
So,
I mean, looking
yeah.
into the group, anybody can just, you know, like, just want to have a clear idea, like, to take the others' opinions also.
Yes, Prabhuji. If I can try. So, as much as I can think is, I feel, oh, of course, it's not I feel, it was definitely Krishna's plan. And the differences, along with the differences you mentioned, so there were like more differences. Like in that pastime, a demon himself was involved, where Krishna planned to appear and take that Simha form and give all the examples. Like both, they have a lot of similarities. I'm going to talk about how both of those were like in both the past times. Ambarish Maharaj and Parikshit and Prahlad Maharaj both were fearless. I'm going to talk about that. And then I lost the chain of thought. Okay. Yeah, and in one case, the difference is I don't know why, again, Krishna's plan. In one case, Krishna appeared on the earth, and the other case, Durvasa Muni ran to Krishna's planet. So I don't know the difference exactly. I think Gaur Kumar Prabhu, Nitya Mataji, please help.
Nitya can go ahead. Been talking a lot.
Sorry. Um, yeah, I mean, I'm listening to a lot of these conversations and very beautiful discussions. So coming to Kameshwar Prabhuji's question, um, yeah, I mean, it's for a higher purpose that, I mean, in that case, we can compare any situation to Parikshit Maharaj and say, why did Krishna not help? Because first place, when he was in the womb and uh, the Brahmastra was trying to attack him, Krishna did protect him. So why did he not do that? Why did Krishna not protect Parikshit Maharaj in this case? Is because of a higher purpose, like what we already know is that to give Bhagavatam to this world, and because of Parikshit Maharaj's so many exalted characteristics of personalities of Parikshit Maharaj came out in this pastime, which would not otherwise be known to the world about his glories. So it is one way, that. And even in in our lives, we can see that some of the things, it may be as simple as we drive in the car, and then somehow we were thinking about something, like preoccupied with something, then we were trying to change lanes, and then suddenly we see that car in the the car in the blind spot, and suddenly we just move back. And then we say, okay, thank you, Krishna, for, otherwise it would have been a major accident or something. So Krishna protected us. And then we see that in other cases where, we were so hopeful to get that job, get that college admission, but, we think that we truly deserve it, but then didn't happen. So how do we, this is like comparing these two. So how do we justify these things? I mean, these are not like things that that we can have answers for, but in our situation, I'm honestly, I don't know the answer why Krishna did not save Parikshit Maharaj, except for the fact that there is a higher purpose of him, um, to go through the curse, which brought about the advent of Bhagavatam, retold the story of Bhagavatam to all the world to follow. That itself is a huge underwear, that he has to go through that. But other than that, there is, I mean, for these kind of questions, there is no answer. Why this? Why not that? Why me? Why not me, like that? But in every situation, all we can do at our capacity is to see that whatever happens, we have to be grateful that it could have been so much worse, and that it just happened as a small token, and we be grateful to Krishna for this. And also for the previous point, connecting to the previous point of whether, how do we know what do we, if we choose what is the right thing to do in terms of college admission, things like that. Well, we don't know, right, what is good, but like Gautama Prabhu and others have said that, you know, we can choose to surrender or get advice from the mentors who knows us for sure. And additionally, we can also reach out. You know, Krishna is always accessible to through prayers. You know, we pray that, okay, Krishna, I cannot completely say that my decision will always take closer to you, because I have these ambitions in my life, which when achieved, I'll be comfortable situation materially, so that I can grow spiritually. If I'm not materially situated comfortably, then it is not possible for me to grow spiritually. There is a need for some of us like that. I mean, including me. So help me achieve that. And at the same time, Krishna, please put me in always constant touch with the devotees, so that I may never forget you, and I'm always in constant service to you. Krishna listens to our heartfelt prayers, and that is you know, that helps a lot to kind of open up the channel for mercy to flow. And in that process, Krishna may even show us a mentor or somebody who can advise us in the right way. And in the future, let's say even things did not go as per plan, but at least we can be rest assured that we pray to Krishna, and it's up to Krishna if just like that Arup Siddhavati. So we just pray to Krishna, and then just be rest assured that whatever comes, just humbly accept it. I think that's what my response. Thank you.
Yes, Madhuri, very nicely said. Abhimanyu, Vritrasura also weren't saved. Ajamal was saved on the other hand. Krishna's save is not what we see as a save. Yes, this is what I was going to say, that Maharaj mentioned in his lecture, that Krishna's protection, it comes in different ways. So it is beyond our expectation. Sometimes it might seem as a help. Oh wow, Krishna, you did this for me. Sometimes it might be like, oh, why Krishna, why did you do this for? But every single time, mostly he's protecting us. And there will be a verse which will be talking about protection as well. I think it's one of the final verses we discussed today, we read today. So yeah, Kamesha Prabhu, did you find the answer of your question?
Yes, got now. Yeah.
So the same Parikshit Maharaj, actually, he was protected by Krishna in the womb, Prabhuji. Right?
Yes.
So Krishna has a plan. Krishna may not protect the way we want Krishna to protect us. Krishna will protect. There is no doubt that Krishna will protect his devotees, but not the way we want Krishna to protect. I think that's the thing. And in the end, it is always the devotee who's victorious. So in the case of Parikshit Maharaj, he was victorious in the end. Even though he died, you can't say like a movie, the hero dies and how can he be victorious? But in the end, he was victorious. Ambarish Maharaj in the end was victorious. Jatayu in the end was victorious. So all these devotees, even though they may or may not have succeeded in the way we look at things, but in the end, the fact that they're devotees and they're surrendered to Krishna, they will be victorious. I think that's the point that we have to remember. Hare Krishna. Sorry.
Yeah. Got it, Prabhu. Got it. Yeah. As Balabh Chesi Prabhu also mentioned, Vritrasura was victorious, and so like you mentioned all the examples. Whatever we are seeing is not victorious, but actually they are victorious. What I thought is Ambarish, our Parikshit Maharaj is extremely doing well with the students, and he is ruling well. So even Krishna wants to take Bhagavatam Advent, he can get it happen, and the last 7th day, he can save him. Like that, I was thinking, but yeah, actually, he was saved actually by exactly what has happened. He was saved and he went back to Godhead.
Yeah, he was saved in the highest way, Prabhuji. He was saved in the highest way. Saving materially is different from saving spiritually. So, yeah.
Yes, Prabhu, I got it. Thank you.
Yeah, something along the lines that Srila Prabhupada says in the purport of this verse 45. He said, like when Durvasa Muni was all this angry and growling. So he said, one who is not a pure devotee of the Supreme Lord has no good qualifications. However great a mystic, philosopher, or fruitive worker he may be, only a devotee emerges victorious. That's what Prabhuji just said. In all circumstances, as well as will be shown in this incident as well. So yeah.
Ritesh Prabhu has a comment also.
The depth of Krishna's love can only be understood when we understand the length, not from bodily or material perspective, and breadth, many lifetimes of our life. Wonderful point, Prabhuji, but can you please help me understand that? My teeny tiny brain cannot understand.
Oh, I just heard Keshav Swami Maharaj the other day. He was saying, so the question was, there are some kids who get died due to terrorist attack, and probably they were innocent, they didn't do much. So was that Krishna doing? So he replied, like, the depth of Krishna's love can only be understood when we understand the length of our life. Length of our life is not just like we just don't see it from a bodily perspective, like because soul never dies. From that perspective, and breath is basically we have many lifetimes and we don't know which lifetime are we living and what are we paying for basically. So yeah, basically I think reincarnation and soul study is where we understand the depth of Krishna's love.
Yeah, beautiful point, Prabhuji. Even to understand that, I need depths of Krishna's love. Yeah, thank you for mentioning that word. So some point that I missed, that the translation of these verses they emphasized upon was fearlessness. They consistently mentioned how fearless Ambarish Maharaj was, or how fearless his citizens were. Like they all were accustomed to chanting and everything, but there are 3-4 places where fearlessness of these devotees is mentioned. So this is one thing that Radhanath Maharaj also talked about in his lecture. So Ambarish Maharaj, he had all these, we talked about, he had all these opulence, but he was not attached at all to either of these. He gave up his attachment, regarding them as temporary and material. He knew that these are the sources of misery, dukhalayam ashashvatam. So talking about the miseries and fear that we all have, we actually talked about fear in Nitya Mataji's class as well. We recited that verse as well, so that we can get rid of fear from our heart. So what are the causes of fear? We know, like we keep on talking about those again and again and again, but still there is fear in our heart. Like even if I ask right now, or if I start talking about the fears I have right now, the list is endless. So we know that these material things, they are not bringing fulfillment to the heart, they are bringing fulfillment to my mind. I'm happy in the moment when I'm receiving things, but my heart is still like, after a while it will be like, what next? So however much we have, there is so much fear to the extent. So the fear is directly proportional to the material attachments. As long as the material attachments, they keep increasing, the fear keeps increasing. So fear of losing those attachments. If I have more, I'll be arrogant. If I have less, I'll be depressed or envious. So both of these things, Maharaj says, are they are greeds which can never be satiated. So predominant quality of this material world is fear. Once and even this, as I was saying, even the verses we read today, they were talking about fear, like how fearless they were. So the predominant quality of the material world we are living in is fear as well. So we all work hard for something, And like for anything that we feel that we do not have enough, maybe for my case, for example, grades or working in experiments so that I do not lose my PhD. Some of us work hard for our jobs or anything we do. So we are always afraid of losing whatever we have. But the devotees, like Kamesha was talking about, Prahlad Maharaj, and even Ambarish Maharaj, and even the citizens of Ambarish Maharaj, they all are fearless. So how was King Ambarish Maharaj? Like Ambarish Maharaj was fearless. Like, so I actually answered my question when I started talking about this, because he knew that these temporary things, they are sources of misery, and he never took them too seriously. So, and which we also talked about how he engaged his mind and his senses in Krishna consciousness in service to Krishna. Coming back to the point, from fearlessness to again the contradictory situations that are faced in the world and that we face almost not every day, but regularly. So Maharaj says, in order to deal with such situations, we need good intelligence, and our sadhana connects us to the Lord. So while I was talking about the applications of A and B, so in my personal experience, so Gautama Prabhu, during that time when I wasn't able to decide between two universities, one kept me closer to spiritual goals and one kept me closer to my material goals. So Gautama Prabhu suggested me to chant and to do my sadhana properly. So he said that if I do that, Krishna might help me to make a decision. And I remember during that time, Nitya Mataji suggested me, like, in addition to that, if I do my sadhana properly, Krishna might send signs and symbols, which once Shubh Vilas Prabhu also mentioned. And Mataji also mentioned that these signs, they come thrice. So I looked for signs as well, and I did my sadhana properly. I do not know the decision I made was part of Krishna's plan or not. Like, was it along the lines or not? But yeah, I tried to do my sadhana or prayed. Oh, everyone, so many of devotees prayed for me so that I can make good decision. So Maharaj talks about how our sadhana connects us to the Lord. So Krishna says in Bhagavad Gita in 15.15, Sarvasya Chaham Hridi Sanivisto Mata Smriti Jnanam Apohanam Cha. I am seated in everyone's heart, and from me comes remembrance, knowledge, and forgetfulness. So we may not be able to please everyone, like if choosing this university or this path pleases anyone or this please. So we may not be able to please every single person. There's a saying also, with one step, someone is happy and someone is hurt with every step you take. So, but if we have the intelligence to please Krishna in that situation, then our life is perfect. So this is what Maharaj mentioned. So, any comments or any additions to that? Any questions? Okay. Somebody unmuted.
Oh, it was me. I was just saying, like, this is very much in line with 1866 Sarva Dharma Parityajya, because we cannot please we cannot please everyone. And leaving all that, if we just please Krishna, which is equivalent to surrender to Krishna in every situation. Yeah, that's what
Yes.
that's what that is basically. Yeah, just a reflection.
Yes, Roger, thank you for mentioning that precisely, sir. Yeah. Okay. So there could be one question that might arise, like doing our sadhana or even services or seva. How can they help to connect to the Lord, or maybe detach from the material results or desires? So on this one thing, I'm still thinking, like I'm still not on that level to understand, because I haven't done seva as much, like not at all in my life. So, but Srila Prabhupada, he mentions in purport of text 26 like how the devotional service can help us in giving up the material desires or whatever the attachments we have related to those material desires. So he talks about devotional service, example, worshipping, deity worship in temple, or making garlands. So while doing these services, like deity worship, he talks about this in details. So we know we sing this every day. Shri Vigara Thana Nityanana Shringaritan Mandira Marjanado. So for doing that deity worship in temple, one must decorate the deity, cleanse the temple, bring water from Ganges and Yamuna, continue the routine work, perform arti many times, perform first class food for the devotees, prepare dress, and so on. So all of these, if one must constantly be engaged in various services, and this is an austerity. So these austerities, they help in giving up material desires after a certain point of time, and as soon as one is freed from these material desires, he's free from the life, birth, and old age. I'll just quickly finish this. So the story, like we were talking about, by his mystic powers, Durvasa Muni, he erupted into anger and he blasphemed, because through his mystic powers, he got to know that Amrish Maharaj, he drank some water and he just erupted into anger, and he said a lot of things to Amrish Maharaj. And then he uprooted a bunch of his hair and created a demon resembling the blazing fire of devastation. So as Maharaj was saying, Radhanath Maharaj was saying that one has to be really angry to pull their hairs. Like, and he was saying Durvasa Muni had matted hair, so imagine how difficult it would have been for him to pull out, like how angry he would be to pull out his matted hair, which he hadn't combed since a while. So the blazing creature came before Ambarish Maharaj, who didn't even move, even slightly from his position. So there's a very beautiful purport of Srila Prabhupada, which we were talking about. We were talking about protection, and so this is about protection, that the protection is offered to a devotee even from the very beginning of his devotional service. So Srila Prabhupada mentioned that how Amrish Maharaj did not even move an inch from his position, and he didn't even request the Supreme Personality of Godhead to protect him. He just started thinking, he folded his hand and he thought about Supreme Personality of Godhead. He's like, Krishna, I'm yours. And he was just thinking about Krishna. So a devotee is never fearful, as we were just talking about his death as well. He meditates upon the Supreme Personality of Godhead always. So then there is this Kaunteya Pratijani Hina Bhakta Pranashati. So if one simply begins devotional service, he's immediately protected by the Supreme Personality of Godhead. Protection begins immediately. This is also confirmed by 1866. Aham tvam sarva papebhyo mokshasyami. So the Lord is so kind and so merciful that he gives the devotee proper guidance and all protection. And thus the devotee very peacefully makes solid progress in Krishna consciousness without outward disturbances. So this is one thing. Just finishing up. So Ambarish Maharaj, of course, when this fiery demon was, he came before Ambarish Maharaj, the Lord sent his Sudarshan Chakra, and immediately by his Sudarshan Chakra, the Sudarshan Chakra is also made of fire. So fire finished up fire in ashes. So Maharaj says, Radhanath Maharaj was talking about like how incredible and inconceivable this is, like fire burning up pure fire into ashes. So this is the inconceivable energy of the Supreme Lord. So after that, that same Sudarshan Chakra, it came near Durvasa Muni. So Ambarish Maharaj didn't even move an inch. What did Durvasa Muni do when the Lord Sudarshan Chakra came for him? He started running. So Maharaj mentions that in this Kali Yuga, if there was Durvasa Muni, he would have won Olympics. He would have won gold medal and first position in the Olympics. Along with that, if he would have been included in the Indian cricket team, he would have been an undisputed captain, and India would have won all the World Cups. So finally, please wait until next Tuesday for the Durvasa Muni to stop running in the universe and all the planets and everything. So thank you, dear devotees, for joining and patiently participating in the discussion and listening to me. Thank you so much. And I'm very sorry if I committed any mistakes or offenses while speaking or discussing this pastime. Thank you very much.
I mean, so many devotees are clapping and appreciating your class, Nupur. Thank you for preparing so nicely in such a short notice. Anybody wants to share anything, any highlights from the class?
I just wanted to just say, in addition to what Nupur was saying about how to get rid of the material desires, that one must always constantly serve and love and serve Krishna. So the absorption is also important. Just because somebody does that, eventually, it does not eradicate our desires. It's not an equation. There is a subtle element to it. It's like the absorption and also the the love. Even the love is also a pretty high high bar to get, but the absorption, whenever we're doing aarti, whatever we do, little seva, do it with absorption. That is because we can be doing it for like 15 years, 20 years, but if you're just doing it ritualistically and getting preoccupied with other things in our mind, then that may not necessarily lead us to having our desires cut down. But a very awesomely presented class, Nupur. Very, very nicely. Started with the description of how the whole canto is divided into sun and moon dynasty, and very beautifully just zoomed into like gave a picture of before and after of this particular pastime, and led us into a nice discussion and yes or no questions. Very, very beautifully led. It shows how much you've prepared and also highlighted the purports and stuff. Very very nicely prepared and presented class. Thank you so much. Yet another success story for your to add to your feather in the cap. Hare
Thank
Krishna.
you so much, Madhuri. Not fair, huh? You didn't let me speak about your class last week.
Yeah,
Thank you so
I
much,
mean, I
Madhuri.
really like that point about absorption, and that also connects with the point of hunger. If one is really hungry for that devotional service, then the absorption comes. And when the absorption in service comes, then these external disturbances will not bother you so much. You'll just be hungry for service, hungry for seva, and completely absorbed in the seva. And in that absorption, all your external disturbances automatically will be healed or taken care of, because Krishna will not want to disturb that absorption. Krishna will want you to keep that absorption. So Krishna will make sure that all your material difficulties and so on will be healed or taken care of. But if we focus on the external disturbances, should I do this, should I do that, should I do this, then our absorption in Krishna will start going down, and then we'll start focusing more on the external problems. So the bottom line, which also Nupur highlighted many times, is that we must be absorbed in that seva. I think somewhere you mentioned or you highlighted the purport of Srila Prabhupada. The mentality of service is very important. So the mentality of service is where the hunger comes in, the absorption comes in. And in that mentality of service, if you are completely absorbed and doing it in the right intention and the right mode, then you'll see so many amazing things happen. As Raghunath Prabhu always says, the Krishna magic will start happening around you. And yeah, so I think that's the bottom line. Thank you. Anyone else would like to share anything?
Yeah, thank you very much, Anupur Mataji. Very nice class. We look forward for the remaining part of this chapter to be given by you. Very nicely covered, starting from the previous dynasties, as Nitya Mataji mentioned. So we look forward. Very nicely presented, and also the pictures, the whatever you made, very appealing. The PowerPoint pictures and Doras Maharishi's pictures are very nice.
Yeah, very nice, thought-provoking. You really asked good questions. Like you mentioned one thing, like what do you do? Like how do you remember Krishna and all? So that is very practically, very thought-provoking. For example, while we are drinking water, every day we drink water several times. That is the best opportunity to remember Krishna. So once Gaurakumar Prabhu told that very simple to remember Krishna, and to answer a question for a reporter, Prabhupada was telling, did you see the God? Then Prabhupada said, every day I'm seeing. Every day, everybody is seeing, like, for example, drinking water several times, so you can feel Krishna. So like that, we can remember every step in daily life, because that is the clues given by Krishna in Bhagavad Gita, like how we can easily remember him, in what forms is there in front of us. So very thought-provoking class, very nice. And we look forward for the second part next week to be covered by you. But I know you are extremely busy with your coursework and other things. But I think you can always spare some time for all of us and also for Krishna. Thank you. Thank you very much.
Thank you, Kameshwar Prabhu. Lekha Mataji, would you like to say something? Maybe she's driving or something. Okay. So anybody else? Before we end? I just want to end with one point. So the word Durvasa means one who is very difficult to live with, actually. Dur and Vasa. So people don't like to go close to him. They want to run away from him. So one who is very difficult to live with is actually Durvasa. On the other hand, one who is very easy to live with is a devotee. Because when you're living with that soul, that person will take you closer and closer to Krishna. And so Durvasa is actually, I mean, in Kali Yuga, there are more and more Durvasas actually, because the people are becoming more and more difficult to live with. So that is something that we can question on a very basic level. Are we easy to live with, or are we difficult to live to live with? And that can be a very basic way to understand if we are becoming a devotee or if we are becoming like a Durvas Muni's descendant. So just keep that in mind. We'll continue that discussion next week. Next week we'll have someone else cover. If nobody wants to cover, I can do it. Or in the next 2 weeks, it's only 2 more weeks where we'll be finishing off this pastime. So if anybody wants to cover next week, please let me know. Otherwise, I can do it, or I can finish off the week after also. Thank you so much. Vanchakalpatarubhyasya kripa sindhubhyo cha patitanam pavanebhyo vaishnavebhyo namo namaha. Anantakoti Vaishnavrinda ki jai. Srila Prabhupada ki jai. And thank you, Nandini Mataji, for joining from Kolkata, and wish you all the best. Hare Krishna.
Thank you.